I have met so many people over the years where you can trust a person to send you the right people as guests. And I can honestly say that I met Carol Williams through a mutual podcasting friend of mine, and he recommended Carol highly. And if he said that Carol was the right fit for my show, I believed him. So when Carol and I first started talking, I just knew, yes, I have to have her on my show because she has such an incredible journey. And Carol, it is my honor to have you here as a guest on the Power Transformation Podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much. You seem like a powerhouse yourself. So
Oh,
I can't wait to have this conversation.
thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And what really also attracted me to you is the name of your company that we will get into. But prior to us doing that, I always like to start with a lighthearted icebreaker question, just something totally random, so we can get to know more of you as a person. And Carol, this is my question for you. At the time of us doing this interview, we are in early December, and it's what's known commonly as the holiday season. That's that general term for this time of year. And whether you or our listeners celebrate or not, this is the question for you. What does the month of December, the end of the year, Carol, mean to you?
I love that. I love it. What a fun extra question. So, just the other day, my man and I were playing around with words, and we decided that I need to start a series called Wise Winter Woman. And so because my favorite season is winter, and here we are, so for me, it's all about slowing down and accessing our inner wisdom and really really looking at what's buried deep within. Because if we stop worrying about what's out here, because there's plenty to worry about. You got to get this gift, you got to be at this party, you've got to do all of these things. What's actually really true is the solstice provides very little light. And with the very little light, it means it's time to rest. So for me, it's all about being quiet, enjoying the snowfall, sitting near a fire, playing outside in the snow, and yeah, just being extra grateful.
Grateful. Being grateful is so important. It's so very important. And when we have that type of mindset where we can just be able to reflect on how far we've come, think about where we want to come, but more importantly, just to be present in the moment speaks volumes. And Carol, that's one thing about you is that with your environment around you, from what I can see on the camera, if a person's listening, they can't see it, but it's just your setting and the environment behind you, the work you also do that we will talk about. And although those are very important, there's a question that comes to mind here that I want to ask you. And so, how would you respond to this? Who is Carol Williams?
Sure. So I am the one who helps others light the light of the world. I am the one who is crazy and fun and kind and loving and intuitive. My top two strengths are hope and perspective. If you're my friend or family, I would die on the sword for you. However, I also love me, and I have a deep belief in divine guidance that is from the inside out. So I am spiritual, crazy, fun, kind, loving. Um, is that enough?
It's totally up to you. It's truly an open-ended
Yeah,
question, but I think that that's a great shift into asking if you could tell us in about 60 to 90 seconds what it is that you do professionally, how you help to serve others, what
sure.
would you say?
Sure. The Beacon of Light Center, the mission is to spread love, light, and joy through the world. And right now, I'm the only paid employee of the Beacon of Light Center. And my current focus, which will be expanded, is that I specialize in uh, supporting mid-level female coaches, especially leadership coaches, level up without burning out. In other words, to have the life that they want and the work that supports that life so that they then pass the torch and so that then we light the light of the world.
And I love that title, Beacon of Light. I mean, that just, oh, I visualize so much when I see it. Everything from a lighthouse shining a light all the way to lights in the sky in terms of solar system lights, to lights out in the galaxies and the vast universe. I see so much when I think about beacon of light. But also, Carol, what comes to mind when I think of that is thinking about the silhouette of a person and a light within them
Mm-hmm.
being on the inside, shining outwardly. That's what really stands at the forefront. And so to do this work of helping women coaches, specifically in this leadership area, let's go back a bit to a part of your early journey, because this isn't something that a person necessarily wakes up overnight and says, this is what I want to do. So take us back, Carol, to your younger years. Tell us a bit about your upbringing and how, even at a young age, you were a beacon of light in things you did, even if you weren't fully aware of it at that time.
Wow. Please cut me off when I get too long-winded.
Okay. Okay.
So it's interesting. We just spent a week together with my family, and my man. We're not
Mhm,
married, but we're together. We're forever
mhm,
people. And he commented, we were watching old slides. And he
mm.
commented that even as a little kid, I always had a really big smile on my face.
Oh,
And my childhood was incredibly simple, but yet um it was my childhood, and I mean I mostly was home. I mean, sure, I went to school and stuff, but my mom was a stay-at-home mom and I just had myself, and then 4 years later came my sister.
um,
And most of our childhood was spent either at home or out in the boat. Once in a while we went like camping, but we didn't do a lot of stuff. We were mostly just at home. So I got to experience and appreciate little things like taking lobsters from my dad's best friend who was a lobsterman and
oh.
playing with them on the floor before they got cooked to their death.
Yeah.
We had like several lobster pictures with
Don't play with your food, Carol. Don't play with your food.
and let's see, I like to ride my bike and play with the local kids and just whatever. We had a pool in the backyard. I liked to watch I liked to watch the laundry actually turn around, and that's
Oh,
interesting. My dad fixed everything and he fixed it so you could keep the laundry um open so I could
uh-huh.
watch it like the cover open.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I like to watch the laundry. I don't know why, but the other thing I liked to do since I was a little girl up to be a teenager is I liked to dance. So downstairs in the cellar, we just had like one bulb and like a concrete wall that was painted white, and I watched my shadow. And
I like that.
as I got older, I was like maybe 13 or 14, and I was able to move into a separate bedroom that my dad like made for me. And then I got these like double mirror closet doors, and that was wonderful because now I had the whole like small wall because the wall wasn't much bigger than that, and I would dance a lot. in front of that mirror. So I've always been dancing my whole life. I've always allowed my joy to come from the inside out. I
Yeah.
still do
Oh,
that.
I love that because it shows the innocence of childhood, but it also just the fact, Carol, that you were able to do these different activities and to have these experiences. It gives me a sense that your childhood felt safe. You knew it was a safe space for you to do it in. You knew that, you were in a home that loved you. I can sense all of that just off of that description and how your light was shining even then. And how now with the work that you do, that's what's happening as well. And so it may be assumed from some that, okay, since Carol was like this as a child, then she had to have gone into some type of a career where she was shining her light and serving people and helping people. And so take us there, Carol, to your career in terms of what you chose to do professionally and how did that job in specific, that field, really transform your life?
Yeah. So before I did my work that I do now, you mean?
Yes, uh-huh.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So, really interestingly, I painted this nice picture of how my life was, but nobody's life is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom, I didn't understand my mom, especially as I got to be in like junior high, you know,
Mm.
right? And in high school and things, it just didn't work out. And I knew my mother was different, and I loved her, but I didn't get along with her. So I actually started out being in psychology. And the reason that I was that
Mm.
was because I wanted to figure out my mom. But I was
Interesting.
also but I was also fiercely independent and self-funded. And I was concerned that I wouldn't get a real job or something. I don't know. I was only 18 years old. Who knows what
Yeah.
people think when they're 18, you know what it was. So I wound up just on a conversation with this person, and I also love the outdoors. And I talked to this guy one time in freshman year, and he talked me into looking into landscape architecture because I like to be outside and plant trees and things, and I wasn't so strong. He said, "Oh, you should be a landscape architect." So I went and changed my profession and my career path, and I transferred schools and I graduated as a landscape architect, and I worked for 18 years as a landscape architect.
Now tell us more just off of my curiosity of landscape architecture. I am ignorant to a lot of it, but what did you love best about that field and that career?
Drawing.
Oh,
Drawing? Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't realize I was an artist until I tried that out. Coloring and drawing were my most favorite things, to be honest
Hmm.
with you, followed by being outside and taking ideas and watching them come into life.
Hmm. Wow. And so you had this career for 18 years and so hearing even about your childhood and your upbringing and despite having a complex relationship with your mom, would it be safe to assume then, Carol, that behind the scenes, even with this landscape architecture, that perhaps, you had a safe space at home with your family in terms of if you got married or if you had children? Was that home life also this area where you could really just fully and freely be you?
Yeah, good question. It's really interesting. I'm going to start with my father. So my father is just a big heart. He's very kind
Oh.
and loving, but he did not teach me boundaries. And as I am older now, and I learned what boundaries are, and I also learned what being a victim is. He was a boundaryless victim, and
Mm.
he was or is an empath to a large degree. And so he taught me, not on purpose, but he taught me that that was normal. So as a result, what happened was I fell in love with a man who I don't think through any overt decision, but it just kind of how he was. I loved him and he loved me, and but I knew things weren't just right. But long story short, we got married, and
Mm,
it sort of started to grade going downhill from there. But it really went downhill when we had kids,
mm,
because I came to learn that he's a narcissist. I always knew he was an addict, but I didn't realize what gaslighting was or any of that kind of stuff, crazy making, all the things, that
yeah.
I know now. But I didn't know that then until one time when I was going out to get cans of soup for him because he was sick. And I was talking to a friend of mine on one of the early cell phones, and she said, "Carol, that's abusive."
Wow.
Not realize what was going on. So, unfortunately, I wish I could say yes, I had all kinds of like beautiful support, but actually not at all. It's because I learned to be hyper independent, because my mom wasn't really capable of like taking care of me, and my father, he just wanted me there all the time, and I love him, but I didn't want to be there all the time. I wanted to be like my own human.
Of
So
course.
I was like, nope, I'm gonna go do this all myself. And I think my former husband saw that and realized that I could take care of him, which I kind of wound up doing. And it's not easy to be in that position.
Hmm.
Because I went into the GYN one time to pee in the cup, and it said, and there was this thing on the mirror that said, no matter what I do, I'm never right. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I took a little piece of paper off, and it was a domestic violence hotline, and I was just
Oh,
like, wow. So I began to learn about it. I just didn't
wow.
know about it at the time. But anybody who's listening that understands anything about abusive behavior or domestic violence in any different kinds of way, like it doesn't have to be physical. It can be physical, it can be emotional. That was emotional in my case. It can be sexual,
Hmm.
all kinds of ways. But what it does is it eats away at your personhood, and then you become a shadow of yourself. So that's actually what happened. I wish it
Mm,
weren't, and today it's not. Like today I'm
of
very
course.
supported, but not at that time.
Wow. And it seems to me, well, what I would do, I can't speak for you, but knowing you had this career as a landscape architect, knowing that home life might not have been as great, it would compel me to say, I'm going to put as much energy into this field because this is something that I can create and control. And maybe you didn't have boundaries in your marriage, but at least through this career path, you were able to do so. And knowing, Carol, that 18 years, okay, knowing that you are in this field for 18 years, it truly becomes a huge sense and part of your identity. How was your identity shaped by what you did as a landscape architect? And did you ever see yourself doing something different?
100% no. I love that question.
Mm.
And that's why I laugh when people right now that are like I was a senior in high school. It's like, you don't know what you want to do. You think you do, but you don't really
Girl,
know
yes.
you do, because
Mm.
there's exactly zero way I would have said to you at any point from the time I walked into the doors of landscape architecture to the time where I got laid off in the Great Recession in '09 that I would say I would do anything else, because as you point out, it's like it became part of my actual being. And in fact,
Yes.
when I first got laid off and realized that construction was stopping, because landscape architecture is really tied into construction, and there was no construction happening. The phone stopped ringing and
Uh-huh.
stuff. I thought, well, I got to do something else. So one of the things I did a lot of things looking for part-time job.
Hold on, Carol.
Yeah.
I don't mean to cut you
No,
off,
please cut
but
me off. Go ahead.
this is quite important. And I know it's been a while ago, but you speak of it so casually. But I think this is perfect timing in this day and age with our economy, not putting politics in it. I don't think it matters
Yeah,
who's
yeah.
who's president, I think this economy would have been how it is anyway. It's just a
Mm,
cycle of life, right?
mm,
But there is someone listening right now who
mm.
may have just gotten laid off and they thought that the jobs they had were safe. It was going to be their end all be all. So take us, Carol, briefly to the moment when you learned that this profession in the way that you knew it was over for you. How were you able to handle that?
Yeah, great question. It was devastating.
Mm,
Yeah. I remember right at the end of my time there at the landscape architecture company, a good friend of mine from college, she I don't think we texted then. So she either emailed or called
mm,
me and said, "Well, Carol, you know, when a door closes, a window opens." And I think I was on the phone because I wanted to throw the phone out the window right about then. And I
mhm.
was like, I don't even understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
'Cause it felt like not only just the door was closing, but it felt like everything was closing on me.
Mm,
And the terror was real. And everything on the media, on TV, you know, it was all doom and gloom and everything was bad. And
mhm,
oh my gosh, the fear was off the charts. The fear that, you know, and my husband at the time was also incredibly fearful. And, you know, in fear, what we do often, I feel, at least I did, is we make decisions that are not grounded.
mm,
They're not very well thought through because our fight or flight response is in full control at that point. So, you know, he did things like he um he decided to, you know, take a part-time job as like a substitute teacher. And I want to tell you a small story to just,
sure.
you know, so there it was. So I got laid off in February of '09, and this was March of '09, and I live in the Northeast where it snows quite a bit. It was
Mhm.
snowy. We lived on a hill. I had a yeah, I had and I still have a standard shift car because that's the kind of car I like. And our youngest was he could walk, so he was probably, I don't know, 2.5 maybe.
Wow, he was still a baby though.
Oh yeah, yeah, he was
Wow.
little. And but he was standing there outside. He was sort of toddling along and I was like, "Okay, I'm going to warm up the car and I'll, you know, put it neutral and and turn on the brake." And I think what happened was and went out the car to go get him and pick him up, and I picked him up and as I was starting to walk, the car started going down the hill.
Oh my gosh.
I dropped him, not dropped him, but I put him down
Yeah.
and then I tried to get in and like stop it, but by then the momentum was kept going like further,
Oh.
you know, and yeah, the car like landed on a tree and like ripped off the one of the doors, and it also I got caught a little bit on my foot and sorry, my lower leg, and so I got kind of ripped it off. Not the
Mhm.
leg, just ripped off like the skin and stuff.
Skin.
But then I had to call my husband who was, you know, at school, and he had to come and get me and bring Kellen, that's my son, to daycare. I just so happened to be at the hospital, so that was good. So then I went in. But get this, talk about the fear. This is my point, is I'm not kidding you. He was crying. Now, I'm the one hurt here.
Mm.
Okay. My car just got crashed. My skin is ripped open. When I lifted up my pant leg, you could see things looks like you know, the fatty tissue in there.
Oh yeah.
Not some
Ooh.
super pretty sight.
Yeah.
And he was the one crying.
Mm.
I had to
Mm.
comfort him. I'll never
Wow.
forget. I was on the little thing they put you on the stretcher or whatever, and
Uh-huh.
they bring you to the room, and he's all like, "Oh my gosh, what insurance do we have? Could we use this? Could we use the car insurance?" And so I'm not kidding you. Now I just got laid off. I called my old boss, and I'm just like, "Am I on Cobra?" This
Mhm.
was my life, okay?
Wow. When it
So
rains, it
it
pours.
was a tough time, you know, and
Yeah.
then I was on crutches for a while. But I'm just saying about the fear. So
Yes,
when we're
indeed.
in fear, we do stuff that we may not have done otherwise if we had just
Mhm.
found ways to ground ourselves and bring ourselves back into our logical brain.
My gosh. So how in the world did you do that? How did you do that exact thing where you went from being laid off to having this toxic marriage to becoming who you are today in terms of this creation of beacon of light? How did that journey happen, Carol B? Because just by hearing it, it's like, what in the world when everything came crashing in at once? How in the world did you escape all of that?
All right. Well, first of all, this doesn't happen overnight. When
Of
I
course,
popped
like
in,
how it
it's like,
does in the
wow,
movies.
I want to meet that woman. Oh, wait.
Exactly. Exactly.
So you do what you do and you do it one step at a time, I suppose. So kind of the first milestone was getting strong enough to set out your limits. So my
Mm,
limits. So just trying to think on exactly when this was. So I would say this was so I went, okay, so that was in '09, right? And then I went through some stuff. Early 12, I went on
mhm,
a trip with my dad. Without him. Like it was my dad and me and a couple other of his friends, and it was on a boat in the Caribbean, like to just kind of get away
mhm,
and so on. And it was actually a big trip we had planned for a while. But anyway, I left the kids at home with him, which is another whole story. But it was good because I got to like, that's how I got to think. That's where I got to journal. I got to say to my dad, "Hey, if I ever needed some help, because he didn't know. He didn't really know what was going on behind the
oh,
scenes. And so I said, I might need some help. If I needed some help, would you be I've never asked for help. Now, don't forget,
mhm,
I don't know how old I was in my 40s, and I hadn't asked for help till since I was 17. It's
mm,
like I'm asking for help now, and he agreed, of course I'll help you. And but that was big for me. So that's a big part is get quiet. I got quiet. I gave myself some time and space. I asked for help.
mhm,
Once I knew I had something, because now I got a couple little kids. There's a lot on the line here, and then what I did was I somehow, some way brought up the courage. I don't know how I did it. I just decided it was time. I tried some other things, and I said, I I would like to stay in this marriage. And we had done a lot of counseling and so on. I'd like to stay in this marriage, and in order for me to do that, I'll need you to stop drinking.
mm.
What he said was, um, you're right, I really need to cut down. So right there and then I'm like,
You
okay.
said stop drinking. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So right there and then I was like, okay, now I have my answer.
Yeah.
So I knew it. So in the back of my mind, I started kind of feeling out other ways of living and being, and I'll never forget. So that was probably in the spring, maybe it was in May. And then it was in July, we're on our family vacation, camping, and my oldest son like locked the keys in the car or some crazy thing. Of course, you can always get the police to help you out, which we had to.
Mhm.
It's life, man. It's just how it goes. But I'll never forget it that my ex-husband, he really freaked out, threw like a shoe at my son, and my son
Mm.
was devastated. And I'll never forget, he came over to me and I just hugged him and said, "It's okay, honey. We're gonna
Wow.
get out of this. We're gonna get out of this situation. We're not gonna live with like this anymore. And by the end of the month, we were moved, and we moved into this house temp that I live in now that I bought in 2021.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wonderful. That's
So
wonderful.
you just do it one step at a time.
Exactly.
Can't do it yourself. Don't ever think you
Mhm.
can do it yourself because you can't and you won't. And you got to have
Yeah.
help. You got to have help.
And I'm glad that you were able to step outside of yourself and ask for the help because that's where a lot of people get caught on. Even me, I still have a hard time asking for help. It's getting better, but I do because I think for me it's like I know what to do. I'm responsible, but it's okay. We need help sometimes because if I'm quick to help someone, then why can't I step into that as well. And I think that's so important. And it leads even to a couple of things as we start to wrap up here. You literally, Carol, reinvented your life and your career after having been established. And so, what would you say to the person who may say, oh, well, I'm so used to this and I'm too old or it's too late, that ship has sailed? Because there are people who think that
Oh, yeah.
they missed an opportunity in the past. They think that's it. I don't think so.
Yeah.
But how would you respond to a person who has that type of a viewpoint?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I could say, whether you think you can or you think you cannot, you are right.
Mm,
The oldest client I think I ever had was about 85
wow.
coaches. So I was on a team for 10 years who helped startup coaches build, launch, and scale their business, And
Mm.
so when I say my oldest client was 85, I mean, we're talking about a startup coach here. So maybe that's a little on the older side, but
Yeah.
usually it's not quite that old.
Still though.
But the point being is that you can believe that. I mean, you're welcome to believe that. The question is that really what you want?
Hmm.
Because if not, let's have a conversation about what you do want, what it really means to you, and what baby step you might be willing to take.
Mm. Beacon of Light. How did you come up with that title and how did it come to be where you ended up doing work in this space?
Yeah, good question. In the beginning of I think it was 2019 or maybe 18, I went to a retreat, and it was after our current president was elected the first time, and I was feeling a little sad, and I was at this retreat in the mountains, and the person that facilitated just laid out all this paper
Mm.
and asked us to do a collage. And what came off of my hands, remember you asked me what I liked best about landscape architecture,
Yes.
it was drawing. What I learned through landscape architecture was how we design something. It's not like you think it all up in your head and then it comes out. It's like you have this general idea and then you allow your art to inform
Oh,
what you're really feeling inside.
wow.
So that's what I drew, collaged the Beacon of Light Center. And originally it was kind of a healing center for DV victims, but that gets kind of changed over time.
Hmm.
But I made it and it's out in my living room wall right now. And it's more things have happened, but yeah, I had little different nodules for different areas. Like I had the artful cuisine of Erin
Oh.
and with Kellen and different things. And so it's just evolved over time, but it came from in me that a place I didn't
Mhm.
know was there.
Yeah. And see, that I think is the wonder of it all, is the fact that you say it was already in you. And that is the point of even with my show, the Power Transformation Podcast, getting people to realize that there is such power already deep down inside of you.
Yeah.
Yes, you might use other sources to kind of push it out of you, but it's there. And the fact that you recognize that is so important to the work that you're doing now. And so, Carol, I do have one or two more closing questions for you, but with the work you're doing, if a person would love to connect with you, would love to learn more, they could say, "Hey, Carol might very well be the coach that I need so I can continue to soar in what I'm doing." How can a person connect with you, Carol?
Just go to unscatterme.com and you can find out how to connect with me. And before we hit the play button or the record
Yeah.
button, I gave you a link to a little video mini course that I've
Mhm.
done, and it's all about teaching people how to overcome their obstacles. So wherever you are, if you're in that, like, I need to leave my toxic marriage, or oh my gosh, I just got laid off, or I have this definition of myself and I'm super unhappy, like it gives you kind of step by step on how I did it, and it could be applicable to anybody. So that might be a nice place to start, because sometimes what happens is it's scary to talk to somebody even though you feel like you know them.
Yeah.
You have to watch a few videos or read a few things, or that's how some of my best clients have found me. They've just found me on a podcast and then started watching my videos. And then finally I talk to them, and then we get to do super fun, amazing, life-changing work together.
Indeed. And that is life-changing work that you're doing. And part of that life-changing work is getting people to understand that it's okay to redefine yourself. It's okay to not stay stuck in a box. You can step outside of that comfort zone. And so, Carol, as we come to an end here, how do you continue redefining yourself, even as this leader of Beacon of Light?
I like to say it's an upward spiral.
Mm,
It's not a spiral that you're always moving on, because there's seasons. There's seasons where you've moved up and you just kind of want to stay where you are for a while and rest, and then you want to move up.
yeah.
Right now, what I'm doing is I had a couple of years of rest, and now I'm moving up. And what I'm doing is taking advantage of no longer being on that coach team that I was explaining to you. That
Mm,
opened up some time for me. And
mm,
now I'm involved. I'm a donor, or actually an investor in a De La Diosa, which is it means of the goddess. It's a goddess
mm.
temple in Costa Rica, and there's a mastermind involved in that, so that all around the world we'll have Beacon of Light centers in different places, and one of the places will be
Wow.
Costa Rica. So that's one way. Another way is I'm involved in the conspiracy was what it's called. So people with big
Mm,
ideas. I move it ahead there because its conspirators are all over the world. It's run by a coach, Michael Bungee Stainer. He's up in Toronto. How else do I do it? Let's see. I belong to Diamond Level Polka Dot Powerhouse,
mm.
and I just a speaker yesterday on the summit. I was actually the keynote.
Oh, congratulations. That's fabulous.
Yeah, thanks.
You're
And
welcome.
yeah, and so that was really fun. And so there's my Diamond Sisters that, we share ideas and inspire one another. So that's another way, I guess there's three ways right there.
Yeah, and the whole point even of you saying that I hope that listeners get out of this is it's an ongoing process. We don't simply arrive. It's ongoing, and you're so free now. You've created the boundaries that you've needed. You've tapped into who you are to say that I'm not going to allow myself to be treated any type of way. I'm going to do life on my terms. And so, with that being said, Carol, being the person that you are now, what would you say that you feel most accomplished about and why?
I feel most accomplished to be able to be inspirational. And
Mm,
I hope that the people who choose to interact with me want to
mm.
do so because they want to feel more grounded, centered. Um, they want to believe in themselves.
Yeah.
They want somebody that will hold their feet to the fire, believe in them, and hold the vision with compassion and badassery.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Power Transformation Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow or subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and write a review. It helps us inspire even more listeners. And don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who could use a little power in their transformation. Until next time, keep bouncing back, keep rising, and be good to yourself and to others.